Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
Hey, what's up guys? We're back with another video, and today I'm going to be diving into the world of the Marquette Golden Eagles basketball team and their upcoming season, but mainly focusing on their coach, Shaka Smart, and how he's propelling the Golden Eagles to new heights. Shaka Smart has been the Marquette head coach for 3 seasons now, and he's been involved in the world of basketball since he was a kid, as he was a pass-first point guard, someone that would have loved to play in one of his own teams probably. And he went to Kenyon in Ohio, where he had a 4-year career and then moved on to coaching from there. Shaka Smart took over the VCU Rams in the 2009-10 season in the CAA, or the Colonial Athletic Association, and he had an okay first season, but his second season he led the team to a 28-12 record, and although they didn't win the division, they did get an at-large bid to the March Madness tournament. Smart's VCU teams were underdogs in every game they played in. And led by senior Jamie Skeen and junior Bradford Burgess, they had a heavily aggressive and attacking style that implemented heavy full-court presses and a super aggressive defensive style that Smart used to disrupt the offense of the high-flowing and highly ranked teams they had to go against. VCU had to take on USC, Georgetown, Purdue, Florida State, and Kansas, where the school advanced to their first ever Final Four, being the third 11 seed in tournament history to get this far. Their historic run eventually ended against Butler, a team led by future NBA star Gordon Hayward and NBA front office exec Brad Stevens. Although their season was over, VCU shook the college basketball world, and Shaka Smart took over headlines as he got VCU, a team that couldn't even win the CAA, all the way to the Final Four. And by 2015, he had big schools calling as he moved to the powerhouses in Austin, the Texas Longhorns. While at VCU, he became the second youngest coach to win 100 games in 2013. But by 2015, he was gone for Texas, and he received a lot of top recruits like Mo Bamba and Jackson Hayes. Smart had an okay stint in Texas the 6 years he was there, where his best finish was 3rd in the Big 12 and didn't get past the round of 64 in March Madness. And in 2021, he had his highest seed with Texas, as they were given a 3 seed, and they lost to Albine Christian in the first round of the tournament, which many questioned Smart's job security, and after that season he left to go to Marquette. In 2021, Marquette hired Smart to replace Steve Wiczkowski, who left the Golden Eagles in March of 2021. His first season with the Golden Eagles, he had a 19-13 record, where they lost in the first round of March Madness to UNC. But in his second season, he led the Golden Eagles to a Big East regular season and tournament champions, and all of this after being ranked 9th in the preseason polls for the Big East. After such low expectations, Smart ended the year on a high note, as Marquette looked primed and ready for a March Madness run. As the number 2 seed in the tournament, they played their first game against number 15 ranked Vermont Catamounts. And Marquette was the heavy favorites, but struggled a little more than expected, coming out with a 78-61 victory, as Tyler Kolek struggled heavily and didn't get to 10 points, and he might have hurt his hand during the game, but Cam Jones had 19, Prosper had 11, and Iguodaro had 14, as they cruised against a much weaker opponent. In Marquette's second round game was against the 7th ranked Michigan State Spartans, a rivalry school led by Joey Hauser, a former Marquette transfer. And Marquette came out kind of weak offensively and struggled against Michigan State's offense, where Tom Izzo and Shaka Smart were 2 of the only coaches in the country to not utilize transfers as much of the other teams did and relied on their young rosters. But Izzo got the best of Smart as Michigan State won 69-60, and Marquette's golden year ended faster than many expected. Kolek struggled throughout March, and they didn't look the same as they did in the regular season. Smart worked with an extremely young roster with almost no seniors on the entire team, and especially not in the rotation. The best players were shooting guard Cam Jones, only a sophomore who averaged 15 points and was the best scorer on the team, while junior point guard Tyler Kolek, who came from George Mason 2 years ago, averaged 13 points and 8 assists and he became one of the best point guards in the country, known for his passing abilities. And then junior Oso Ighodaro and Olivier Maxence Prosper were the two forwards that held the team together, averaging 12 and 11 respectively, but the team had no seniors getting big minutes and was super young and ready for a huge future ahead of them. Marquette was competing with the big dogs, beating UConn, the national champions, twice last year, and being ranked a top 10 team in the country by the end of the year, but their recruiting in the roster was not like those other teams. Many big teams like Duke or UConn can recruit the best players and make title runs in March Madness, and Marquette can do the same but with lower ranked classes. Last year's freshman class was the 53rd ranked recruiting class in the nation, which is not bad, but compared to the teams Marquette wants to beat, it could be a little better. After losing only one major player, being Maxine Prosper, to the NBA draft last year, Marquette brought in 5 freshmen to recuperate their losses. The first is Trey Norman, a shooting guard from Worcester Academy in Mass, and he is a 4-star recruit and the 14th ranked shooting guard in the country, and a highly exciting freshman. I'm super excited for his offensive skills at Marquette. I think he will develop so well under Smart, and all of these freshmen are going to develop well under Smart. It's one of his strong suits that he can take his young rosters and develop his players and trusting in them instead of bringing in transfers. And the next freshman is Zayd Lowry from Indiana, another shooting guard who is the 23rd ranked shooting guard in the class, but another guy that's going to compete with Trey Norman their entire Marquette careers, and a super exciting player. During the fall practices, he has been the most exciting freshman, boasting huge offensive capabilities, and should be very good coming into the season. And the next is a 3-star ranked Al Amadou from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a power forward, the 33rd ranked in the class, and he's also going to be exciting defensive talent, as him and Oso Ighodaro are going to be going at it all season and developing each other. The next 2 freshmen are both big men, Jack Riley and Caden Hamilton, and neither were ranked coming out of high school, but Jack Riley is a local kid and Caden Hamilton is another Massachusetts guy, and Hamilton also is a redshirt this year, meaning he will maintain his eligibility and will still be a freshman next year, which is huge to develop his talent, as minutes won't be open for him anyway. And then Jack Riley is a hometown guy who will also not be getting minutes his first few years, but should develop greatly with the roster. And next are the sophomores, which have benefited greatly under Shaka Smart, where these guys came in as a 90th ranked recruiting class last year, which is way lower than this year's, and all 5 of them weren't as hyped up as they could have been, but Chase Ross and Sean Jones are the 2 players I'm most excited for on the team. They're going to have greatly improved roles this year, probably as the 2 guys coming off the bench, but will still be so exciting to watch. And Ben Gould is another guy who got a few minutes as a big man, but he's worked on his outside game. He's insanely tall, going to be huge for Marquette in the paint, as probably another big man coming off the bench. And then Jonah Lucas and Casey O'Malley are more guys filling up roster spots, but would be good for practices. But Chase Ross, super explosive, a fun player he had a few moments last year, and he's going to have an even bigger role this year and an even greater role the year after that. So Chase Ross is the player I'm most excited for, but Sean Jones is going to be huge this year as the backup point guard. I'm super excited for both of them and Ben Gould's development. As Smart, that's what he's best at, is developing his younger players. And next up is the juniors, which make up a bulk of the minutes on Marquette's team. And as I mentioned before, Shaka Smart utilizes his young players a lot, so a lot of these guys have gotten a ton of minutes in the past. Cam Jones is debatably with Kolek the best player on the team as a junior, and his sophomore year he was absolutely amazing in March in the Big East tournament and in the Big East regular season. Cam Jones is going to be amazing this year, even better offensively than he was last year. And then Stevie Mitchell is a great defensive guard. He has offensive scoring in there too, and he's just a great team player that you want. Where David Joplin is going to be the only player that didn't start last year that will be starting this year, and he's going to be huge for the team and take huge leaps and bounds his junior season. And then the bottom 3, once again, 3 guys filling in the roster, Walson, Brown, and Tiardo, are going to be helping the team develop in practice. And the 2 seniors on the team, it is such a young team, is Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro. two starters that have been starting the last few years, and Kolek is the National Point Guard of the Year. He is one of the best players in the country and definitely the best point guard. And Oso Ighodaro is a great center that helps with Smart's pick-and-roll offense at times. And Kolek is a pass-first point guard with good defense and great IQ for the game. And he's not a score-first player. He's not going to put up 20 every night. That's going to be more Cam Jones' job. But Kolek is so good for the cohesiveness of an offense. Something Smart is going to want to utilize Kolek on offense. And then Oso Ighodaro is a great rebounding center, someone who gets big in the paint and a good offense with good post moves. He doesn't have an outside game yet. Last year, he shot almost nothing outside the paint. He's definitely going to be working to develop it for this year, but his job is to work with the guards and get a perimeter game based off him being the pick-and-roll guy and him getting in the paint to score. And here is the rotation that I think we will be seeing. And as I mentioned earlier, only one starter is gone, which is Maxine Prosper, the power forward from last year. So I think we're going to be keeping Kolek at the point guard spot, obviously. Stevie Mitchell will slot in as the shooting guard, with Cam Jones being more of a small forward, although he is probably a guard. And then David Joplin as the new power forward, with Oso staying as center again. And these guys are going to flow heavily through Smart's offense and his defense, where working as a unit on defense is key, where a lot of other teams ranking similar to Marquette, like Marquette's a top 5 team in the country now, and other top 5 teams work through a star player. They revolve around one guy that can get him a bucket and might not try on defense. We've seen it in the past with guys like Paolo Banchero, where they can take possessions off, but not at Marquette. Smart doesn't care about that. He has 5 guys working as a team. And I think the bench is going to be huge and important this year, where all 3 sophomores, Sean Jones, Chase Ross, and Ben Gold, are going to be huge to the team, as they're going to find their minutes and they're going to have huge opportunities this year to grow under Smart. And I think this is one of the best rotations in the country, as everyone works together as a team, and Smart really focuses on the narrative that it is a team and not one guy trying to improve his draft stock. And I have huge expectations for Marquette and an even better season than last year, where they only lost one rotation guy from last year. Everyone is getting older and better in another year under Smart, so I expect the most after they won the Big East and had a nice, average March Madness run. I expect even better this year. So I think the MVP is going to be Cam Jones, and obviously Tyler Kolek is the point guard of the country, point guard of the year. He's the best point guard in the country, but I think Cam Jones' scoring capabilities are going to be just too good to ignore. I think Kolek will have a great year. He might even average a double-double, averaging probably around 12 and 10, but Cam Jones' scoring is going to be so good. I'm so excited to watch it. He'll probably average upwards of 15, maybe even get close to 20 points a game. I think he'll be the best guard since guys like Jimmy Butler and even Dwayne Wade at Marquette. And then the most improved player, I'm giving it to Chase Ross, a sophomore shooting guard who played last year under Smart, came off the bench. I think he's going to have a hugely improved season as the 6th man. He'll be getting a ton of minutes, maybe even opportunities to start, and I'm super excited for him as his scoring looks so much better than the past. And coming in with Rookie of the Year, there's 3 main contenders of Trey Norman, Al Amadou, and Zayd Lowry. And I think Norman will be good and develop, and he looks amazing so far. And Amadou looks alright defensively, but has to work on his offense. But Zayd Lowry looks like a perfect Marquette player already. Even though it's only his freshman year, I think he'll get minutes. I think we could see Norman or Lowry sliding into the rotation if other minutes are falling out. And I'm hugely excited for them and their future at Marquette. So I think Lowry, I'm going to give him Rookie of the Year. He won't have a huge role, but when he gets minutes, I think he'll make a push. And then my season predictions. Big East, anything less than first place will be disappointing. Close division and conference. So many good teams. It's going to be close. Creighton looks amazing again. UConn just won the national championship and have an upgraded roster with Donovan Clingan. They still look amazing. Either way, we need to come first. Big East tournament champions. Once again, nothing less than winning will be acceptable to me. I think Marquette looks so good under Smart. They have to win the tournament. And then March Madness. And obviously, this is going to be tough with so many big schools that make Marquette look like underdogs at times. I think Elite Eight should be the goal. Obviously, every team wants to win March Madness. Should be the goal every year. But the Elite Eight should be the objective of the season, because last year, slightly disappointing, a second round exit. It was a good team. It didn't feel like a choke job or a huge upset, but I expected more from Marquette. They ruined my March Madness brackets. I had them winning the whole thing. However, I think Elite Eight is the place to be, because they might not be good enough to win the whole thing this year. They might be, who knows. But anything less than that would be hugely disappointing, as they got to win their first 2 games, beat last year, and then when you get to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 where you're playing better teams, I think I still expect them to get a few wins in the books in March. And now for my Big East predictions of the standings. Of course, I have Marquette coming in first. I think they have huge expectations, and usually Marquette isn't ranked super high, as last year they won the whole thing and they were ranked 9th, which is extremely weird and just pathetic on the guys making the rankings. But that being said, I think Marquette is just too good for the rest of the teams. I think anything worse than this will be disappointing for the team and for the fans. So I think first is the only acceptable outcome. And number 2, I have Creighton. A lot of people probably have UConn first or second, but I think Creighton is going to shock people and finish above UConn, where Creighton looks really good this year. Last year they were showing their potential with Cal Brenner, with a lot of the guys that looked really, really good, and they're only going to get better this year. So I think Creighton will shock people and be extremely exciting this year with Bailey Scheiderman, Trey Alexander. They have a really good team, and I'm kind of nervous for Creighton. I think they're going to shock people and be better than people think. And then coming in at third, I believe it's going to be UConn, last year's national champs. Klingon is going to be amazing if he can recover from his foot injury. But I think third, I think they're going to be a little underwhelming to people. They won't be bad, but they're not going to be exactly. They're going to have a little bit of a championship hangover from last season. And then coming in at number 4, I have Providence. A lot of guys have Villanova or even St. John's in this spot under Patino. But I think Providence will look good. I think Kim English is going to do great work at Providence. Devin Carter is going to be great, and they have small ball 5 Josh Aduro, who looks very good. And I think Providence will go back to the number 4 spot where I think they belong. And then speaking of guys that don't belong is Villanova, who spent years running the Big East. I think they're going to fall down to 5th this year. They've had a tough few years after winning the national championship. I think Eric Dixon will look good, Justin Moore will look good, but last year they were just so bad. They're going to be better than last year, but just not great overall. And then next up, I have Seton Hall, which is going to be a mystery team for the year. Who knows how they're going to go with Shaheen Holloway, the St. Peter's coach who beat Kentucky at a huge March Madness run, brought a few of his players over to Seton Hall, and I think 6th is the spot for them. They won't be great, but they definitely won't be bad. Holloway's a great coach. And then coming in at 7th, I have Xavier. They had a weird year last year. They finished well, but just didn't really impress me. I think they still don't impress me. I think 7th is the spot for them. And then 8, I'm putting St. John's. They got Rick Pitino, which 20 years ago I'd be great move. They'd be a contender, but I think his time is up. I think he's old. I'm putting them at number 8. And then coming in at 9 is Georgetown, a team that's been one of the worst in the country the last few years, where they had guys like Mac McClung a few years ago. But Ed Cooley should implement his style at Georgetown, and they will be back eventually. They're going to get better, but still not good enough yet. And then number 10 under Thad Matta is Butler, who I just don't think they're going to be any good. Them and DePaul are going to be fighting for last, in my opinion, and I'm just not a huge fan of Butler or their roster this year. And then coming in at dead last is DePaul. Just kind of a joke of a program at the moment. They almost beat Marquette last year, but they have a lot of stuff they need to work on. And I think realistically the best they can do is 9th in the conference. They brought in some transfers and they got in some recruits, but they're lacking in experience and size. And I think they're going to need a lot from their offensive guys like Nelson or Fisher to at least produce anything offensively. And Shaka Smart has a hugely unique coaching style which really implements the family and brotherhood feel of a team, and he really builds a cohesive unit of players rather than one guy competing for a higher NBA draft slot or more money from teams. So I'm super excited for the year. I think Smart's going to implement his offense again, which involves a lot of movement, and his defense, which I think is the most impressive part, which is 5 guys working as a whole together. It's so impressive watching Marquette play with all 5 guys working together on defense every single possession. If you watch any game, Marquette works together more than any other team in the country. So I think it's going to be important for Smart. He's shown what he can do in the past, and this is the year where he needs to show how he can do it and actually make it happen. So thank you guys for watching. Comment how you feel. I'll talk to you if you have anything you want to mention from the video. If you have any predictions about the season, I'm excited for the year. I think Marquette will be great this year, so thanks for watching.